Welcome to the Building Community Podcast, a show for thought leaders like you. You know that success depends on relationships between your organization and the people in and around it. In our show, I speak with experts about building people networks and engaging community. Together, we share how community helps you reach your corporate goals. I'm your host, Simone, and I've been empowering organizations for a decade and a half doing exactly that. Ready for it? Listen in as we set out to make communities thrive.
What I tell them is you need to have data.
Says Andrea Legnani, to stress the importance of monitoring trends so alumni managers can understand what their alumni need and ultimately give alumni exactly that, when, where, and how they want it, because that drives value for both sides. Andrea is the Global Head of Alumni Relations at Citigroup, a multinational investment bank and financial services corporation. They've been around for over 200 years. He started their official alumni network in 2011. Today it counts around 30,000 alumni, and its purpose has shifted over the years. Originally from being a place where retirees self-organize, to today where Citi gives value and gets the same in return. Alumni networks are a huge opportunity in today's fight for top talent. And Andrea's advice? Stay connected with your people and establish a relationship for life. Welcome to the show, Andrea. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Simone, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Andrea, you work with Citi's alumni network, and it is quite fascinating, especially its origin story. It started out on a quite interesting note about 20 years or so ago, and at that time you had a former employee use Citi's name to start his own alumni efforts, and you immediately saw value in what he was trying to do. And that was at a time when alumni networks for corporations weren't even a thing yet, and people didn't really know what to make of it. Tell us a little bit about what happened then and what's been happening since.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a very curious story. So I was, at the time I was back in Italy. I'm Italian born and raised, and I was taking care of the communication. And there was a group of Italian former Citi managers that had gotten together, and they had enjoyed their experience at Citi so much that they had decided to create an alumni network even before it was actually a thing. Right? Mm-hmm. And the fun thing is that because there was no official alumni initiative at Citi, nobody knew how to deal with them, right? So the first reaction was, actually, these guys are using our name without having the permission to do so, so we should actually sue them. And as you can imagine, the time was 2008, actually. Mm-hmm. And you probably remember what happened in 2008 in the financial mm-hmm. sector. And I was a public affairs officer, and the only positive thing that I could say at that time was that a group of people had such a wonderful experience at Citi that they actually wanted to do something in our name. So I said, before you actually sue them or do anything else, let me take a look into it and see whether we can do something. So basically, because I was a communication person, I gave them a little bit of internal visibility and external visibility. Mm-hmm. I helped them building their initiative so that it matched with the company's goals. And I started using the alumni initiative as a creator of goodwill for the company wherever I could, right? In internal meetings, in international meetings, and so on. So someone probably started to see the opportunity, but it was not until a few years later, in 2011, the year when we started creating the initiative for the 200th anniversary that happened in 2012, someone said, well, let's do something for the alumni, right? While we celebrate our history, why don't we also celebrate the people that gave their contribution to create the history? And let's create the alumni. And probably everybody's like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. And but wait a second, who knows anything about alumni? And probably someone said, who's this guy back in Italy who keeps talking about
that cheerleader for alumni networks? Yes.
Exactly. And that's how it all started. They received a call. And they're like, hey, Andrea, would you like to expand what you know about the alumni and coming over to New York to build and run the alumni network? I immediately jumped on the train, and here I am.
And here you are. And I see out there that those are actually the alumni networks that function best, that kind of organically form as a bottom-up effort because people really have the need and want to get together and celebrate their relationship with the organization, and they want to continue it.
Absolutely. I didn't invent anything. To be honest, Citi has been around for 200 years. We're at 210 next year, actually. There, historically, when we started, because we didn't know much about alumni except for what was happening in Italy because of my origin, we did a search and we realized that there were actually 16 informal alumni initiatives in 16 countries around the world. So Citibank, has been a pioneer. It's in more than 100 countries, and it went to Asia over 100 years ago. Many of the people that were sent from the U.S. to Asia to help build and start different franchises in all these countries actually still feel a huge attachment to the company and to the people that they work with. Historically, Citi people always wanted to stay connected. Mm-hmm. We simply didn't have an official Citi alumni network, and I just started it and invited everybody to join, and that was the beginning of our history as we know it today.
Mm-hmm. And how many countries are you in right now with your network? And who are the people that you're actually supporting and serving through that network?
So today we serve any person that has spent 12 months or more with Citi and that left in good standing, meaning that they are rehire eligible. We have activities in 98 countries, but our alumni actually moved around and are in 114 countries around the world. And we have about 30,000 members. And I would say probably over 500,000 alumni, people that used to work for Citi are out there. So there's still a lot of room to go.
Yeah. So you have an alumni anniversary coming up. And since the origins of the network, how it was formally integrated into Citi, I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit how the network within Citi has evolved over time, and more importantly, how has it been able to fully integrate into Citi's culture?
Absolutely. So basically, you can imagine we started in 2012, actually. The official launch was in January 2012, but we started working on it in 2011. We were still feeling the consequences of the financial crisis, right? So you can imagine that the relationship between not only Citis, but all the financial institutions with their alumni were not rosy, to say the least. People were not happy at all. To be completely honest, when we started, the real idea was to reconnect with those people, making them feel part of the family again, making them feel like they were part of the network because of their contribution to our legacy, and keep them connected and actually make them understand where we were going. We were trying to get back to the place that we deserve as one of the most respected financial institutions in the world. Something went wrong during the crisis, but we were rebuilding. And we wanted to communicate it. It was just literally a matter of rebuilding relationships. Well, throughout the years, things have changed. And we got to a point now where the job market itself is changing. We went from, at the beginning, 10 years ago, when we started, we had people on average that had stayed with Citi for 20 years. And the younger generation spend with companies less than 3 years, 2.8 years to be exact. Right? So the job market is changing. We are going from an alumni network that was basically a retiree club to an alumni network that was a vibrant group of people that are still active in the community and that actually can return to work. Back then, people that left very seldomly came back to work for Citi or came back to work for the same employer. Today, 10% of our current employee base are people that left and came back, what we call the boomerang, people that left and came back. So 10%, and we're 200,000 people. So there are 20,000 people at Citi, employees, that left and came back. So there's a huge opportunity. Not only you save money, you save between $50,000 and $75,000, of which basically a part is pure headhunting fee, and the rest is productivity. People that come back already know their way in. They already know the system. They don't need to undergo a very in-depth learning and development because they already know everything. They already taken the courses. They already know the systems. When they come back, they are happier. They stay longer. They perform better. It's a win-win. We save money, we have more committed people, and it's a win-win. At the end of the day, today, there's a huge competition for talents.
Yeah.
And to be successful as a company, you need to hire talents. And if it's hard to find them out there because they're already employed somewhere else, why not looking at those who you already know and you can select and you can pick and choose only the best?
So you basically have changed your strategic approach. In the beginning, when your alumni members were more the older generation, people who retired from your organization after 20, 25 years, those were your brand ambassadors. Those were the people that were helping spread the word about Citi and spread the word about what you're doing. They were rooting for you publicly.
Absolutely.
And since then, you're transferring it in today's crisis, which we have. The global health pandemic has changed labor markets, as you're saying. There is this war for talent out there. And now you're using your member base so that you can bring those talents who maybe have left Citi, gotten more work experience elsewhere, expanded their skill set, to bring them back into Citi and to add value there.
Absolutely. And there's one more thing. Because of the way the world has changed today and the way the job market has changed today, and at the beginning, 10, 15 years ago, when we were talking about alumni initiatives, you were thinking about people who had left, right? So stay connected with people that had left. But today, 10, 15 years later, alumni are not anymore a thing of the past. You have to look at alumni as something in the future, because people that are today with you will probably leave in 2.5 years. So you will need to stay connected with those people to make sure that there's a sort of lifelong relationship and you both can enjoy the benefits of this association, right? You offer them benefits and you offer them the opportunity to come back. And at the same time, they become brand ambassadors. They buy your products and they talk nicely about you, about your company in their social circles, and ultimately come back to work for you, because that's a real value for the company.
So when these people come back to work for you, there's also been a shift in thinking of current employees, right? We all have employees who are currently in the organization.
Absolutely.
Maybe are not always big fans of bringing former employees back because they think, oh, you betrayed us, you left.
Absolutely.
That dynamic at Citi, has that changed? Are people more open now to welcome the rehires, the boomers, as you said, back into Citi?
It's absolutely changing, because at the beginning, it was us going to them saying, hey, we have the alumni, we need to talk about opportunities to work together. And they're like, why would I want to work with people that left the company, probably did not believe in our project, in our future? And now they're coming to us saying, hey, can you please put out there on the website this X number of open positions for alumni? So it's completely transformed the perception of alumni as someone from the past who had to be forgotten, don't even think about coming back, to, oh my God, this is an opportunity. We actually want people to come back.
Yeah. So you're working really closely with the HR department.
Every single day. Every single day. I'm working every single day with businesses because businesses are seeing the opportunity of doing specific things for their alumni, not only in terms of business, but again, in communication, in staying connected, in managing know-how, in managing knowledge. You can do so many things with alumni if you look forward instead of looking backward. That it's amazing. And I believe that any large company that has a significant number of alumni should actually do it, should start to look into it today. Because if you don't do it today, you'll be really late. And if you think about people moving around to every 2.5 years, in 5 years from now, there will be 2 alumni initiatives that are tapping on the same talent. So you better do something quick, something now, so that you have a competitive advantage on your competitors that will be poaching, will be looking into poaching your own pool of talents.
Yeah. You're already talking about the return on investment from the point of view from the organization, right? Because putting an alumni program together and having all those support efforts, it takes time, it takes money, and it takes effort. A lot of people are concerned or worried because they don't really know. There is no guarantees when you're starting a network. Is it gonna flop or is it going to be a huge success, right? So what do you tell those organizations? You said you got to jump on the bandwagon now. Don't wait. Don't be late.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But why is it so important to build those relationships? And why is it that organizations first have to give before, as you said, they get something out of it too?
You have to give and take. And provided you give, you will also take. And you are the organization. So there has to be a way to build the trust and the confidence in the institution and in the alumni initiative. So they need to understand that there is a value in it. And by the way, you need to make sure that every single person finds the right way, the right motivation to be part of the alumni network, right? So what we do, we ask them every 2 years, we send out a survey and we actually ask them, what would you like to see that you don't find today? What do you like? What do you see that you like? And what do you see that you don't like? So that we can adapt our offering based on their replies to our survey. In terms of ROI, only the communication aspect of it would be worth it, right? Because you create so much goodwill. But then if you're a company that, if you produce mass market products, only by selling products to your alumni are much more willing to buy your products than anybody else. They've been using their products for many years of their lives. Why would they stop using them now?
But it's not your role to sell products.
Correct. My role is to sell engagement, right? I'm not selling products. So my role is to sell engagement, and my ROI is based on engagement, right? I have a sort of we called it engagement scale. We put people in buckets, and our success is moving people from less engaged to more engaged, because a more engaged alum is someone that will help you reaching your goals more effectively, more rapidly, more quickly. Yes. My success is how many people do I manage to move from one bucket to the other, from less to more engaged, so that we can sell them more products, have them more committed, build goodwill, or come back to work for Citi.
And engagement for you is, for example, when we're talking about the scale, less engaged to more engaged, it's, for example, people responding to questions on a platform, people opening your emails, coming to your events, taking advantage of your educational opportunities that you put out there.
That is correct. So the minimum would be to have a working email, right? The next step would be to have a working email and people actually opening the emails when they actually receive them. And then RSVPing to our events, coming to our events, participating into several different events, and then help us building the network, maybe opening up their Rolodexes, inviting other people to come, become real ambassadors or angels, as you want to call them. So I measure my success based on how many people I manage to move from one side to the other. So how much I'm able to move the needle in terms of engagement rather than business. So I kind of, reverse the tables. And now I'm asking our business people, how much business did you make on my platform rather than vice versa? Them asking me how much business I'm bringing them. But
you've already proven your concept over the years. They know the value of it now.
Absolutely. They don't know the value. They don't know.
Andrea, it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is looking at data and looking at analytics, looking at what your people do.
Well, yes. So, I have many people asking me, what's the recipe for your success? And what I tell them is you need to have data to base your decision and to base everything you do on data. It's important to collect data, to have a platform behind you that works so that you can understand trends. Because if you see trends, then you can act and react faster than if something happens and you were not prepared for it. So if we see things happening, then we can react and adapt to what we do, our offering based on the trends that we see. So bottom line is have a solid platform that will help you understanding your alumni, understanding who they are, what they want, when they want, so that when you actually provide what they want, when they want, and where they want, they are more committed, they're happier, and they help you reaching your goals more effectively.
And in order to reach goals more effectively, you must have already defined what the goals of the network are, because oftentimes, or ideally, when we're building an alumni network, the goals will align with the goals of the organization, and
Correct.
they will support the goals of other departments. So how do you develop this strategy with points of views of the other departments in mind so that you can all pull on the same strings?
The bottom line is we have a strategy that connects very tightly with the strategy of the bank.
Yeah.
So we have volunteering events, we have big themes that we follow with the bank. The communication from the bank goes out to our internal employees and to the outside world. So we do the same things because we are a sort of sounding board. And at the end of the day, our alumni are the next best thing to our employees. They know us. They're literally part of the family. So we consider them part of the family. And our strategy is to make sure that they find what they're looking for so that they can help us reaching their goals more effectively.
Your strategy is to use these valuable resources as multipliers because they know you, they know your values, they know your programs, they know your projects.
Sounding board for everything that happens at Citi. Absolutely.
What is it that you see in the market, especially in your industry, in the financial industry? Not every organization has alumni networks. What is a big misunderstanding that people have of corporate alumni networks?
One of the things that I've seen over the last few years is that every single financial institution is looking at the alumni in a very serious way, more seriously than before. I'm part of a group of like-minded alumni managers of large alumni initiatives. And we all have the same issues. We all have the same dreams. We all have the same lookout in the future. Companies that are still waiting to see what happens are afraid of spending money on something that they have not exactly understood, that they don't know what they can get out of it. But my suggestion is, even if you're a company that's starting today, people that are with you today will become alumni sooner or later, and probably even sooner than later. So make sure that they know exactly why you're staying connected, what are your goals, what are the benefits of staying connected, so that once they leave, it's not so complicated to say, hey, why don't you stay connected with me so that one day you can come back and along the way enjoy all the benefits that we can offer.
And it takes time. This is a good point that you're making along the way, right? We don't need to start everything out being perfect. We start small. We start with the people who are leaving now. We're capturing this group and then are building that network slowly.
And probably also not expecting to get the benefits right away, right? When you build a relationship, you first need to build a relationship and then you start getting the benefits of the relationship. So if you launch an alumni initiative today, you can't expect people to be, hey, I'm super happy and I'm buying your products and I'm coming back to work for you, right? You need to show with acts that there is a relationship there and that they can actually benefit out of it.
And you also don't want to see this hockey stick growth, right? This isn't parallel with sales numbers, because if we have hockey stick growth, teams can't handle it. If you're going from 100 members to 1,000 to 20,000 within a very short period of time, you have problems adjusting along the way. Iteration needs to happen slowly so that you can adjust rules, guidelines, approaches, services.
Yes. 10 years ago, we started small. There were pilot groups for one country in each continent. And we grew up to the 98 countries that we are today. And our growth rate is now about 5,000 to 6,000 new alumni every year. And if you consider that the average attrition is around 13%, we are catching a lot of the alumni on the way out, a lot of the people that leave on the way out. So,
How do you approach this when they're leaving? Do you reach out to them directly? Do you reach out while they're still with the organization? It's on the one side, the onboarding and then the offboarding process. Is this part of a formal offboarding process within Citigroup?
It is part of the formal offboarding, but it's also a part of the onboarding. For example, in the US, we talk about alumni in campus recruiting. So we talk about the alumni opportunity as soon as people get in touch with us interested in joining the company. Because, they're young folks, so we know they're not going to stay for long. We give them the opportunity to enjoy the benefits of being an employee. But at the same time, you have an alumni network behind your shoulders that will help you throughout your life. not only in terms of supporting each other, but also keeping doors open to come back to work for us one day.
A lot of the big consulting firms across the world have adopted this very successfully to be attractive as an employer because you have this big network that can help in your career progression.
Absolutely. Consultants do it in a very constructive way, saying if you don't make it to partner in a certain amount of years, then we will help you actually placing you somewhere else so that we can stay connected and then you become client day one. Basically. We're a little bit more democratic, I have to say, but we have a huge range of people. We have a Nobel Prize. We have 2 prime ministers, 2 former prime ministers, several foreign affairs ministers, several finance ministers, central bankers. But we also have people that have spent all of their careers in a call center in Costa Rica or in South Dakota or in Poland or everywhere else. So we are much more democratic. We don't do this only for our senior partners or for our senior people. We do it for everybody. And we need to make sure that everybody finds their own reason to be there.
Perfect. So, Andrea, let me ask you, what inspires you when work gets difficult? As an alumni manager, you juggle 100 balls at once. You wear 20 hats at once. There is those days, and I have them too, where you think you can't do it all. You can't make everyone happy. What inspires you on those days when things get tough?
It's probably the craziness of the pioneers, right? So not having a benchmark. When we started, there was nothing that I could actually be inspired by, right? So everything I had were either the consultants or schools or universities or colleges. So, but I had to create my own way. And to a certain extent, I became a sort of a pathfinder. And now we're there. And what inspires me is that no matter how difficult it is, we're doing something new. We're building an industry that did not exist before, right? So we're transforming the nice to have into a must have. If you think about it, a few years ago, we're like, we have an alumni network and we get together for a free drink every year and we send each other Christmas wishes. Now it's a business. It's becoming a business. And I am part of the driving force towards this new thing. And this is what drives my enthusiasm every day.
Wonderful. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's such a pleasure to chat with you again. Is there anything you'd love to add? Anything that our audience should know? I will share contact data and contact information with them so they can get in touch if they have questions. Anything beyond that you want to let them know?
Well, if you haven't thought about it, if you're a company and you're on the market and you have a lot of employees and you still don't have an alumni network, do it now. Start thinking about it now. Do it right. Think about a strategy. Get the right backbone, which is a solid tech platform, and do it now because you're really late. All of the large companies are already doing it. You will be competing with fierce competition going forward. So you better do it now and do it right from the start.
One addition to that, you're talking about large companies. What about medium companies, small companies, companies who have 200 employees and not 2,000 employees or 20,000 employees? What about them? Added value of alumni networks as well?
They should. Everybody should have an alumni network because the world is changing. And no matter whether you're a large company or a small company or a medium company, you will still need to find the right talents if you want to succeed as a company. An alumni network can help you being a better employer, being a better company at the end of the day. So whether you're big, medium, or small, do it now, do it right. With that, Andrea, I'm going to close our session. It was such a pleasure having you today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Simone, and thank you to everybody who's been listening to this podcast. Thank you for listening to the Building Community podcast. Is there a leader in your organization or network who needs to hear this? Please share this podcast with them. Help get the word out about the immense value of community. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, tell a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, help your communities thrive.